2.
Hello, Falconhead. We're going to try something new that we've never done before. I've got TR here that's going to go over some questions and things. There's a lot of information that Falconhead needs to know about. Never been able to get this information out there the way it takes too long to respond to emails and text messages, and you're only hitting one or two people at a time. I'm not much of a Facebook person. I'm more of a hands-on. I'd rather just talk about everything. And basically, you know, I've been doing this stuff for Falconhead going on a little over 3 years, I think. And so what I want to do today is let the people of Falconhead know what's going on in their area and what we're looking at doing in the future. And because the biggest thing that I want to see happen is to bring the community together, and I want people to know what's going on in the community. I've got a lot of good ideas, I think, and I've been wanting to do this for over a year, probably about a year and a half, and just never have found anybody to help pull the trigger on it, and that's where I'm going to help. Hope you've got the expertise of getting this put where it needs to go. Okay? So go ahead and start, and I'll just kind of, I know you've got some questions you might want to ask.
Okay, well, let's start with, excuse me, you mentioned that you've been doing this for about 3 years. Have you been the general manager for 3 years? What's that time frame?
The first year, I ran for the board. Basically, there were some things that I thought was wrong with Falconhead, and a lot of members thought was wrong with Falconhead. And this started in 2013, and basically there was one corporation out here that had all the votes. What I mean by that is if you own 1,300 lots, you got 1,300 votes. So the members of Falconhead didn't have any say in what went on out here. In fact, the matter is, when I went to the office and asked for certain things, I was told to go get a court order. I couldn't get anything out of the office. So I don't usually get involved in that kind of stuff. I'm usually a pretty quiet person, and so I got involved in that. And then one thing led to another, and it wasn't just me, it was Charles Ed, it was a whole lot of people that helped get this done. And
getting you elected to the board?
Elected to the board, and we were told that the board couldn't in no way change the way the votes were. And we went through the #1 lawyer for HOAs or POAs, and they said that you can change it. And so the board, once we got the board where it needed to be, we did change it. So now the people of Falconhead have all the power. Mm-hmm. Their votes count. If you've got 1,300 lots, you get one vote. It's kind of like voting for the president. Just because you're Bill Gates or somebody like that doesn't mean you get more votes for the president. So
there's no controlling member?
No. And so that was one of the huge things that I seemed to overcome, that we needed to overcome, and we did. I was told it was impossible, it couldn't be done, but we got it done. And so that brings us to where we are today. So the people of Falconhead is who elects the board members.
Right.
And the board members, sometimes you have a hard time even getting people to run for the board. There's a lot more to it than what people realize. And when things are going pretty good, you don't hear from the members much. Mm-hmm. But anyway, this is kind of where we're at, and that's what we're going to be touching back and forth. I'll be kind of jumping around back and forth, and I'll try to not make it too confusing.
Okay.
So
you've been a general manager then for
2 years. Well,
2 years.
I got on the board. I was the board president for the first year.
Okay.
We let go the general manager in May of 2015. I ran Falconhead for the next year for no charge and was the board president, and tried to dig us out of the hole that we were in. We were probably $90,000 in the red. We were looking at bankruptcy. And so we worked on that, and once we got, we was like a ship with 1,000 holes in it. It was sinking everywhere. And I just, with me and help with good employees, we started plugging the holes, and we got the ship turned around and got it to where it stayed afloat for a while. And I'll go into a lot of numbers and a lot of figures that we got a long ways down the road. We ended up with, I think from 15 to 16, we did almost $250,000 more than we'd ever done in the past. Okay. That's simply because money wasn't walking out the door. There was money leaving at every level. And so we got a lot of that fixed. And then at that point, I had to make a decision. If I'm going to keep doing this for Falcon Head, I have another business, and my wife's running it now. But I had to make a decision. I can't continue to do this for free.
Right.
And we'll talk a lot about other things in a minute, why I felt like I was kind of led by God to do this. And otherwise I wouldn't be here. And the people, I met a lot of good people, and I think there was a lot of good people that wanted to see this all happen. And I had a lot of things that I learned how to do through my life that I was able to use at all. Every one of my talents that I know takes to run this place. And it's not just one thing, it's multiple things that you have to know how to do. But anyway, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on me, but...
All right, so I know that there's been a lot of discussion about all of the different assets of Falcon Head. Mm-hmm. We've got the swimming pools, the golf course, the tennis courts. What do you feel is the biggest asset in Falcon Head?
When I moved here, I used to think that, the golf course was the biggest asset of Falcon Head. And the reason I say that, and for me, the airport was the biggest asset for Falcon Head because I'm a pilot and I wanted to live at the airport, fly my planes, and play golf.
So different perspective.
But once I got in and seen how everything works, what makes money, what doesn't make money, my feelings is after 3 years of running this thing, I think the number one asset of Falcon Head is the members. The members bring in $1.2 million a year in dues. Just in dues. And if it wasn't for the members, you wouldn't be able to have any of this. And so that's my feeling. I know other people may not feel that way. The second thing, after working with employees, it's hard to get employees out here. It's hard to get good employees. I've been blessed with some really good employees, okay? But I think with what we've seen, the second asset, the biggest asset that Falcon Head is going to be the employees.
Okay.
And then I think the third would be the golf course. The reason I say that is the golf course has a budget of probably $400,000 a year. I have worked over the years to get a lot, they at one time borrowed $400,000 to fix the green, something like that. You can go ahead and turn that off. Be the easiest. And, but anyway, we looked at, we've got a great golf course. I mean, it's probably in the top 5 from what I hear.
Right.
But, we've got infrastructure. We have roads that have to be addressed because the golf course isn't what makes us the money.
So that's my next question, I guess. Of all of the different things that we have, the restaurant, the lounge, the golf course, the pro shop, the revenue sources, what is the biggest income revenue?
The biggest income, it comes back to the members.
Okay.
I'll give you some numbers, and I've got all this paperwork here that we can go over at some point and maybe put it on a site somewhere where all the members can look at all this stuff.
Okay.
Where they're not just taking my word for it. So I would say the members for sure. The golf course brought in last year $125,000 of outside play.
Okay.
But in order to do that, we had to run a pro shop. We had to rent carts. The carts that we lease out or we rent to people, we lease those cars. We don't own them. And you're looking at, when the pro shop's all finished, when you pay for the pro shop, you're going to net around $25,000 out of that 125 that we bring in.
Okay.
So that only leaves you $20,000 to $25,000 to go towards a $400,000 golf course budget. So that leaves $75,000 that has to be covered by the members.
Okay.
And when you do that, if you figure there's 350 homeowners out here, roughly, when you do that, out of your $210 per month, the golf course takes $92.38 of your $210. So that's why it struggles to get the roads done and things like that. You know, in maintenance, we spent $32.85. Now this is of one member's dues.
Okay, of the 210.
Of the 210. $6.50 is all was spent in roads last year. Security, that counts the front gate and Jocko and a few others, that's $31.20. We spend $15 of your 210 on water, and then $49.28 goes to running the admin office up there, and that's pretty much how it breaks down.
And we can post that.
We can post that, no
Okay.
problem. And so that's kind of, did I answer that question pretty good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. So let's talk about each one of those different assets that I mentioned. So the country club, let's talk about the roofs and the ceilings and the
Okay.
country club.
This has been going on in 2000, it was the summer of 2017. We had a bad storm that come through, and it blew the roof off. There's an add-on to the restaurant that's it's a flat pitch roof. It blew that roof completely off, or the shingles and stuff, just pulled it right there where you eat, between it and the breezeway, was just laying right up there where the bird bath was.
Right, right.
Flooded the whole back end into the restaurant, and so we got somebody out and turned it into the insurance company. We've been through two different people that were going to fix the place. Both people thought we would get $500,000 from the insurance company. That didn't happen.
Did we not?
And so one of the people, they gave up on it. And so I ended up with another company that's been working really good with us. We had a public adjuster come in. We had he's kind of like a lawyer. He comes in, he works off a commission. Because the most we got out of the whole deal, and this is after them working with them, we ended up with about $90,000. I think we got a check for $56,130, and then we got another additional check for $38,137, which totaled $94,268. Well,
And that was
That's-
just for the roof over the restaurant, not
No.
the rest of the building.
no, this was over everything.
Oh,
And this is why we're at a battle with the insurance company, is because to get this, that they turned in Terry's shop building, which is over by the airport. They turned in the guard shack, Jocko's building, the pro shop, the admin office, every building that we own, and even the water tower had some hail damage. And this is the best that we got out of them. So that's when we hired the public adjuster. Couldn't get anywhere with that. Everything's a process. And then, so now we have the company they've got a lawyer. I forget what the lawyer's called, but they're taking them to court over this deal.
okay.
And my thing is we've waited over a year to get our money, and we haven't got it, and we're not going to get it.
In addition. to
Yeah, we
the-
need more money than this.
Right.
And I have dealt personally with this insurance company out of Pennsylvania, and the guy is a really bad guy to deal with. And so, anyway, hopefully the lawyers have it now. That's why that the roofs hadn't been finished up there, but what I do want to let you know is the $94,000 that we collected,
Yeah, where is that money now?
we have $70,000 left. It's sitting aside in the checking account.
Okay,
We're advised not to spend it until we see where we're going to settle out with the insurance company, what's going to happen in court. We spent with the first company that come in, Keith Moon got it, with this company that was a roofing company, and they come in and did a little bit of patching and just kind of got some things started, and we paid them $995, okay? Then the second thing, there was a mitigation guy that came in to check for water in the walls, any kind of damage that, you know, like mold or anything like that. If we'd have had any of that, that would have been even more money. But they didn't find any, but we had to pay him, and that bill was $6,000
just to do the inspection.
just to do the inspection. That's all they did. They come in with some dehumidifiers, put them all throughout the building to get all the moisture out of the building and whatnot. And then the next thing that had to be done was the roof had to be fixed on the flat part. It was gone. So they couldn't use shingles on it because it was a special, it's too flat. It's a special rubber type roof they put on. And that roof cost $8,450.
So that is
But that's finished.
specifically the flat part above the
Yeah.
eating area of the restaurant.
Not the eating area, the back rooms of
The
the
back room,
restaurant.
the one that's got the door leading out to
yeah,
the dumpsters.
yeah.
Okay,
That's where the laundry room is, and they keep the freezers and the storage and all that sort of stuff. The food and everything. And then the inside, they paid for a lot of work inside that room back there. And instead of going back with sheetrock, which just all fell to the floor, I had them put metal in, like metal roofing. So if we ever have an issue again, we don't have to go through all that. You know, it's metal, it's not going to go anywhere. And that was a total of $9,800. So that being said, that leaves us $70,000 left.
okay.
And the bid on fixing that was originally when they were telling us we were going to get $500,000. You know, of course, the board members would like to have they wanted a copper metal roof put on the country club and all the rest of the buildings.
That would be good.
But the bid on that was $213,000. We can put shingles on all those buildings, and that's not fixing Terry's building. That's just fixing, and that's not fixing Jocko's building. That's
Okay.
just fixing the main buildings on the golf
The
course.
pro shop,
The
the admin
admin
office, and the country
and the
club.
country club is $126,000 for a 30-year shingle. Okay. Now, so that kind of lets you know why the country club. When you walk in, we've got buckets sitting there. People, you know, believe me, I want it fixed. I wanted it fixed for 3 years since I've been here. But
Obviously, doing inside repairs at this point.
it's useless because when it rains, it's going to leak. Until the roofs are put on, we can't do any interior work.
So you mentioned that is in court with the lawyers. What's
Yeah.
the time frame on that? I know courts.
I'm hoping by this summer. I just don't have any idea.
Have they been to court, or is it
No,
still
they
in
give
just
them-
litigation?
We did this in around December during the holidays, and I talked to the lawyer the other day, and he said, when you submit the stuff to them to take them to court, they have 60 days before they even have to answer you.
Okay,
And after 60 days, then they force their hand to go to court.
okay.
So it could be settled next month. It could be, if it goes to court, it could be 5-6 months down the road. It could be a year.
Could be longer,
You
right?
know, I don't know.
Right.
But we'll deal with that as it comes along.
Okay, so we've covered the country club and the roof in that area. Let's talk about the lounge. How's the lounge doing?
The lounge is doing real good. Actually, out of all the things that we have, the lounge brings in about $30,000 a year. And basically, the lounge pays rent to Falconhead. It's a separate entity. You know, it's still run under FPOA board, but to have the lounge, it has to be its own business. And it makes its own, it pays its own labor, it pays everything, and then it also pays Falconhead $2,500 a month
Okay,
for rent. and that's the 30,000 that it makes.
Okay,
We kind of keep a close eye on it. If it goes up, you know, if they start struggling, the rent may have to come down next year. If they make more money, the rent will go up. We adjust the rent to eat up the money that the bar or the lounge
for the
makes.
income, okay,
So, the motel doesn't make any money. It's lucky if it breaks even. The restaurant is down to about $45,000 a year is what it loses. When I moved here, or when I got involved in this, the restaurant was losing $120,000 a year. So it's better than it was.
right, right.
So anyway,
So you said the motel's not making any money, it's breaking even. Is there, not even breaking even,
yeah,
About breaking even.
it's close.
is there any, plans for improvements in the hotel rooms?
Well, that brings me back to, I think later on we'll discuss it. I want to talk about what we're spending on the golf course. You know, when we borrowed $400,000 or whatever it was to replace the greens on the golf course, what happened was,
What year was that, do you remember?
it was before I got here.
Okay,
But I think around 2014 or so, they refinanced it. There was a member out here that loaned FQA the money to fix those greens. And then when Darrell Roberts was on the board and the older board that we had so much trouble with that we couldn't, that told us to get a court order if we wanted anything, that board refinanced the loan and borrowed extra money. And I think the reason they borrowed the extra money is so that they wouldn't have to file bankruptcy because they didn't have money for payroll. They borrowed, I think it was $50,000 more than what it cost to pay the guy off that loaned them the money. It was around a $300,000 loan is what it was. They owed the guy like $250,000 and they borrowed, I think it was almost an extra $50,000, so it's $300,000. And we've been paying on that loan ever since. And
do you know what it's down to now?
it's down to $180,000.
Okay,
And and we had some equipment that had been on lease and whatnot, but we finally got to the point where we're able to pay for some of the equipment. In my mind, Terry has the best equipment he's ever had that I know that since he's been here. And I'll visit more about that, but I want to finish what I'm talking about with this equipment. Is my goal was, if he's spending $400,000 a year on, it's been a little less than that. When you look, it was $387,000. I've got all the numbers here. We'll post it. I think last year it got down to $350,000, $356,000. But what I got to looking is the principal of that $180,000 loan is not going towards his department. Only the interest was. So that was another $20,000 a year that you had to add back in. So it really hadn't come down all that much. But we finally got good equipment, and I'm going to go over equipment list here in a little bit. It's throughout all of Falcon Head, but we finally got it paid down to where that we were going to be able to take $50,000 a year. In other words, we've been spending $400,000. We're going to have $50,000 extra to put somewhere else on the roads and stuff like that, and I'll get into that in a little bit too. So what the thing of it was, my big thing was roads. You know, the dues went from 200 to 210. I think in 15, the year I got on the board, it might have been 14. And a few of the board members said, you know, they wouldn't be for this going up on the dues unless we put that extra 5% all towards roads. So they set up a road fund.
right, and that was actually put on the paperwork when we received our,
Yeah, okay.
that it was gonna be.
So we're getting anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 a year that's going towards just the road fund. Well, we've been buying equipment and things for the roads, materials for the roads. And just to give you an idea of what we've gone through is, the first thing I want people to know, like I said, there's a lot, people, y'all are going to have to really, I know it's going to be long, but I hope you stick with me through this whole thing because it's a lot of good information. Originally, we were going to buy a road hog. It's $110,000, about $100,000 for a new one. And the board agreed to go get a loan for it. We went up and got approved for the loan. I got to looking and I found one used for, I think it's $48,000